Welcome back to the Deep Dive. And I have to be honest with you, and with our listeners, right off the bat, when I opened the research packet for this, I had this very specific, and I now see, very limited sound in my head. I just saw the word trance, and my brain went straight to, glow sticks in late 90s fashion, and I thought, okay, so we're looking at a relic. I basically thought we were going to be talking about one song for 20 minutes.
That is the stereotype, isn't it? It is arguably the most misunderstood genre in all of electronic music.
Misunderstood is an understatement. I mean, after reading through these notes and listening to the playlist you put together, I realized my mental image wasn't just dated. It was like looking at a single pixel and thinking I saw the whole picture. The scope is just massive.
Exactly.
We're not just talking about techno's faster cousin here.
No, not at all. A better way to think about it is like this. If you say rock music, you get that Elvis, Metallica, and Pink Floyd all fit under that umbrella.
Right, and they sound nothing alike.
Nothing alike. One is rockabilly, one is thrash metal, one's psychedelic art rock. But they share a lineage. So today, we're applying that same wide-angle lens to what we're calling the trance spectrum.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to dismantle that idea of trance as this one single thing. We're going to see how one musical template, really just a kick drum and melody, split into these radically different directions.
It's a study in evolution, really. We're going to cover the sophisticated cousin, progressive trance.
Right.
All the way to the emotional fireworks of uplifting, the darker stuff like tech trance, the mind-bending intensity of Psytrance, and the pop crossover of vocal trance.
It's a huge range. So let's start with the one that surprised me the most, the sophisticated cousin, progressive trance. When people say progressive in music, I think of prog rock. Long songs, complex solos.
And you're not wrong. Surprisingly, yes, but in a very different way.
Yeah.
Progressive trance is really the genre for the, let's say, the patient listener. Yeah. If the stereotype of trance is that instant gratification, big lights, big noise, immediate drop.
It's your hands in the air right now.
Exactly. Progressive is the antidote. It's characterized by much slower buildups, deeper grooves, and really subtle melodic development.
So it's not trying to hit you over the head with the beat immediately.
Not at all. It actively resists the urge for a drop. The progressive part refers to the structure. The track progresses, it evolves, but incrementally.
Like layer by layer.
Precisely. It adds layers one by one. Maybe a hi-hat, then a bass line, then a really faint synth pad in the background. You're basically listening to a building being constructed in real time.
Okay, but to play devil's advocate, that sounds a bit boring if you're on a dance floor. I mean, you want to move. What keeps you hooked?
It's the hypnotic factor. It's designed to induce a flow state. Because the changes are so subtle, your brain just locks into the groove. It becomes music for the mind just as much as for the feet.
Yep.
The pioneers, we're talking legends like Sasha, John Digweed, Hernan Cattaneo, they were trying to make you jump up and down. They were trying to take you on a journey.
I saw that word seamless a lot in the research. The goal isn't just one song, but a continuous vibe where everything just blurs together.
Exactly. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the sound was all about the mixed compilations. Albums where you literally couldn't tell where one track ended and the next began.
It was about the mix, not the single track.
The mix was everything.
So you mentioned Sasha. The research highlights one specific track of his, Expander, as like the absolute gold standard here. And I listened to it. First thing I noticed, it's 10 minutes long.
It is.
In a world of 2-minute TikTok hits, a 10-minute instrumental, that requires a serious attention span.
It does, but that length is functional. It's necessary. Expander is a masterclass in tension and release, just stretched out. It shows you the patience needed for this subgenre. It builds this lush, atmospheric soundscape that just wraps around you.
How does it do that?
Well, one key technique is slowly opening a synthesizer filter. So the sound goes from being muffled and dark to bright and sharp over a really long time. Sometimes minutes. By the time you reach that peak around minute 7 or 8, you feel like you've earned it.
So it's deferred gratification. It's the marshmallow test, but set to a beat.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's the difference between a fast food sugar rush and a slow-cooked meal. You have to sit with it.
Okay, I get that. It's the journey. But let's be real. Sometimes you don't want the slow-cooked meal. Sometimes you want the sugar rush. You want fireworks. You want to cry in the middle of a dance floor.
And that brings us to the complete opposite end of the emotional spectrum.
The emotional peak. This is uplifting trance. Or anthem trance, right? This is what I think most people picture when they hear the word trance.
Yeah.
Hands in the air, the lasers, the crying.
It is. If progressive is for the mind, uplifting is for the heart. and the adrenaline system. We're shifting gears big time. First, the specs change. We're moving up to 138 to 140 BPM.
138. Why that specific number? Is there a science to that?
It's this interesting sweet spot. It's way faster than a resting heartbeat, but it aligns with a high-energy cardio state. It just forces your body to move.
Creates a sense of urgency.
Right.
Yeah.
But the defining element isn't just the speed, it's the structure of the breakdown.
Okay, break it down for me, pun intended. What's actually happening in the track?
So you have this fast, driving beat, you've been dancing hard, then all of a sudden everything just stops, the drums vanish.
The kick drum is gone.
Gone. You're left with just this sweeping melody, maybe a vocal, huge orchestral strings. It creates this vacuum and it builds tension until it's almost unbearable. And then, bang, the beat kicks back in.
The drop.
The drop. And mechanically, this is often driven by a specific sound called the supersaw.
The supersaw. That sounds like a power tool.
It's actually a synthesizer waveform, and it's crucial to this genre. It was popularized by the Roland GP8000 synth in the late 90s. Imagine taking a sharp, buzzy sawtooth wave and then stacking 7 of them on top of each other, but slightly detuned.
Detuned. So out of tune.
Just slightly. When you have 7 waves, just a tiny bit out of pitch with each other, it creates this massive, wide, buzzing wall of sound.
Ah, so that wall of sound feeling isn't just volume.
No, it's literally layers of sound waves fighting for space. It sounds like an orchestra made of electricity. That is the signature of uplifting trance.
That's a great detail. So who are the titans of this? The ones who looked at the subtle stuff and said, no, give me the supersaws.
You've got key figures who've treated 138 BPM almost like a religion. Artists like Ali and Fila, Brian Kearney, Sean Tyas, they've dedicated their careers to keeping that sound alive, even when it wasn't trendy.
I like that you said they never compromised, so there was pressure to change, to slow down.
Huge pressure. In the late 2000s, the cool thing was to slow down to around 128 BPM. It was more radio-friendly. But these guys, they stuck to the uplifting ethos. They refused.
And even within uplifting, the research shows different flavors, right? It's not all one setting.
Right. You see terms like Balearic or Epic.
What's the difference?
Balearic trance is the Ibiza sound. It's still uplifting, but it uses warmer sounds like Spanish guitars or ocean atmospheres. It's sunset on the beach music.
And Epic.
Epic is more cinematic. It uses huge orchestral elements, strings, pianos. It's trying to sound like a film score on steroids.
So the takeaway is, if you see a photo of a DJ in front of 20,000 people and every single person looks like they're having a religious experience,
they're probably listening to uplifting.
Yeah.
It is engineered for pure euphoria.
Okay, so we've got brooding, intellectual, progressive, and euphoric, happy uplifting. But what about when the lights go down and you're not on a beach in Ibiza? What happens when you're in a dark warehouse at 4 a.m. and things get a little grittier?
Then we enter the darker edge of the spectrum, the industrial side.
Tech trance.
Tech trance. And as the name suggests, it's the marriage of trance and techno.
Right, but for someone listening who might not know, trance and techno, they're not the same thing. They're very different parents.
Very different. Traditionally, techno is repetitive, industrial, stripped back. It's all about rhythm. Trance is melodic, emotional, all about the high. Tech trance takes the darker, harder elements of techno, the grit, but keeps the tempo and the drive of trance.
So what does that actually sound like? Is it just uplifting without the happiness?
In a way, yeah. It removes the pretty melodies. Instead of sweeping strings, you get these sharp stabs, mechanical noises. It's very percussion heavy.
And you get those acid lines I read about.
Yes, the acid lines. That comes from another piece of gear, the Roland TB303.
Right.
It was a bass synth that was supposed to replace bass guitarists, but it failed at that. It sounded too artificial. But producers found if you tweaked the knobs while it played, it made this squelchy, resonant wow-wow sound. Tech trance uses that to create this menacing texture.
It sounds like the soundtrack to a cyberpunk chase scene.
It is intense. It's for people who find uplifting too cheesy and progressive too slow. Pioneers like Marco V really define this space. It's all about attitude.
But looking at the spectrum, tech trance isn't even the most aggressive it gets. There's another cousin that seems to have anger management issues.
Yes. Hard trance.
The name is pretty direct. How is it different from tech trance?
Hard trance was mainly a UK and German specialty, and the vibe here is just raw power. Tech trance is about cool mechanical grooves. Hard trance is about impact.
More?
Direct. Much more direct. The kick drums are harder, often heavily distorted, so they sound crunchy. The bass lines are simpler, but they punch you in the chest.
Who should we be listening to for this?
You're looking at legends like Scott Project. If you listen to a Scott Project track, the first thing you notice is the sharpness of the sound. It just cuts through the speakers. It's abrasive, but in an energizing way.
So it's less about melody and more about the physical pressure of the sound wave?
Exactly. It's visceral. It's not about feeling love. It's about feeling the bass rattle your rib cage. It's music for stomping.
Wow. Okay, so we've gone from the mind with progressive to the heart with uplifting, and now to the gut with hard and tech. But there's one more dimension here. The spiritual, psychedelic.
Yeah, the psychedelic frontier.
Psytrance, or Goa trance, as it was first called, from the beaches of Goa, India. This feels like the deep end of the pool. The research calls it trance for consciousness expansion. That sounds intense.
It is the deep end. This is arguably the most distinct subgenre of them all. If uplifting is about euphoria, Psytrance is about altering your perception.
How does the music do that? Is it just speed?
Speed is part of it. We're now up to 140, 145, even 150 BPM, but the real secret is the rolling bass line.
Rolling? What does that mean? How is that different from a normal bass line?
So in uplifting, the bass is usually offbeat, boom, tish, boom, tish. In Psytrance, the bass is a constant gallop. It fills every tiny bit of silence between the kicks. It creates this seamless wall of rhythm that's incredibly hypnotic. It feels like you're riding a horse at full speed.
And then on top of that galloping rhythm, you have the alien sounds.
Yes. The sound design is incredibly high-tech. Producers like Infected Mushroom, Asterix, Vinny Vici, these guys are considered some of the best sound engineers in the world, full stop. They use all sorts of synthesis to create these squelches and zaps and noises that sound like they're twisting inside your head.
It really does sound like sci-fi music, or sounds from a jungle on another planet.
That's the whole aesthetic. It's organic, but also synthetic. And just when you think you get it, you realize Psytrance has its own ecosystem of subgenres.
I saw that full-on dark sci, high-tech. That last one sounds particularly intimidating.
High-tech is the extreme edge. It's insanely fast, sometimes 180, even 200 BPM. And it's glitchy. To an average listener, it might sound like a modem breaking, but to the fans, it's pure data stream intensity, barely recognizable as music in the traditional sense.
It's just wild to think all of this, from the slow grooves of Sasha to the glitchy madness of high-tech, is all technically trance.
It shows how flexible the framework is.
Okay, I want to pull us all the way back now. We've been out in the alien landscapes of Psytrance and dark warehouses. Let's come back to Earth, back to the radio.
The gateway.
Vocal trance, the pop crossover. This is the stuff you hear at festivals where people don't even know they like trance.
Correct. Vocal trance brought pop sensibility to the genre. And there's a key structural difference here that separates it from everything else we talked about.
Which is?
The song structure. In progressive, or Psytrance, you have tracks. A track is a tool for a DJ. In vocal trance, you have songs.
Meaning verse, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus.
Exactly. It's traditional songwriting, just dressed up in electronic production. Think of Above and Beyond Sun and Moon, or Gareth Emery's Sanctuary.
These are anthems. People sing along.
It creates this communal moment that an instrumental track just can't always achieve.
But, and here's the drama, this wasn't always welcomed, was it? The research mentions a pretty intense backlash from the purists.
Oh, absolutely. There was, and still is, a huge controversy.
Oh.
The underground purists felt that vocal trance diluted the genre. They called it cheesy.
Selling out
to commercial radio. They felt that putting a pop vocal on top ruined the hypnotic nature of it. The classic, it got popular so it must be bad argument.
Right.
But the counter-argument is much stronger. Vocal trance proved electronic music could be emotional and accessible. It humanized the machines.
And practically speaking, it was the on-ramp.
It was the ultimate gateway drug. Millions of fans, probably the majority of today's fans, started with vocal trance. They heard a song on the radio, like the melody.
They come for the lyrics, but then they stay for the beat.
Exactly. They'd go to a show to hear Sun and Moon, but then the DJ would play a harder tech trance track in the middle of the set, and suddenly their minds would open to that sound.
So without the cheesy pop stuff, the cool underground stuff might have just died out.
It fed the entire ecosystem. It kept the whole genre viable on a global scale.
That's a really important point. So we've covered a staggering amount of ground here.
It's a massive spectrum.
I mean, just to recap, we started with Sasha, 10 minutes of subtle, don't rush me vibes.
Building architecture in your mind.
Then the hands in the air euphoria of Ali and Fila and those super saw walls of sound. We got beat up by the aggression of Scott Project.
Had our brains twisted by the alien sounds of Vinny Vici.
And finally, sang along to a pop anthem with Above and Beyond.
It really does cover almost every human emotion.
So what's the so what here? Because on paper, a glitchy 180 BPM track and a vocal pop ballad shouldn't even be in the same genre.
That is the big question. And the trance spectrum proves something fascinating. It proves that a genre isn't about the instruments or even the speed. It's about the function.
The function, explain that.
The function of all this music is transcendence. Whether you get there through a slow, hypnotic groove that calms you down, or a tear-jerking melody that opens your heart.
Or a face-melting bass line that overloads your senses.
The goal is the same, to take the listener out of their ordinary reality and put them into a state of, well, trance.
Wow. It's not about the BPM, it's about the mental state.
Exactly. The genre is defined by the destination, not the vehicle you use to get there.
I want to leave our listeners with something to think about here. We've talked about these as, playlists or categories, but maybe they're more than that. Maybe they're different ways of processing the world.
Go on.
Well, think about it. You have the internal hypnotic experience of progressive. That's for looking inward. Then you have the external communal explosion of uplifting. That's for connecting outward. It makes you wonder, what does your favorite subgenre say about how you prefer to experience consciousness?
That's a profound thought. Do you want to dissolve into the group and feel one with the crowd, or dive deep into your own mind? The music you choose answers that for you.
Something to think about next time you press play. Now, we've talked about the music, but next time on the deep dive, we're going to look at the mechanism that delivered this music to the world. We're going to explore how one specific radio show turned this into a global movement. We're talking about the ASOT phenomenon, a state of trance, and the man behind it all, Armin van Buuren. You will not want to miss that.
It's going to be a good one.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. See you next time.